Hello, my name is John Hudson.
And I'm Pete Moyer.
We are with the Brocade Global Systems Architecture team, and we are here today to talk about on-demand networking and on-demand data centers. So Pete, one of the challenges we've all been facing for a long time now is that the amount of time it takes to actually build something out or make changes in a data center is not anywhere near as fast as the business wants it, right? And so, for most of us, deployments of servers, certainly deployments of router and switches, were in most cases days.
Sometimes weeks.
I mean, because there's a lot involved, right? So essentially what you're talking about is, time to response measured in days. Not by any means what most businesses need, right? Now, one of the ways this started getting addressed is with x86 virtualization. And so what this did is this shrunk this down into the minute time frame, right?
Correct.
Which is wonderful, except for if I'm still spending the same amount of time to deploy these L237 devices, I assume I'm still spending the same amount of time doing routing and routing policy.
Correct.
And then certainly that orchestration has not been changed at all. So, it doesn't do me a whole lot of good to reduce one variable.
Right. When each one of these are still kind of sequential.
Absolutely, right? So now, one of the wins that we're starting to see now is the ability to essentially take the same advantage that we saw here, be able to take that same reduction in complexity and time to delivery that we saw with servers in virtualization and bring it to the other world, right? And so looking at things like, for example, network function virtualization, right? So now what we're saying is we want to essentially virtualize those layer 237 devices. And so now what we're doing is, of course, we still have the x86 side of it, right? But now what we're able to do is actually reduce the deployment of 237 devices as well. Now, my understanding is that essentially this is part of the gain of OpenFlow as well, right?
Speed of provisioning, right? Dynamic capability, correct.
And so this allows us to reduce this down to a much more manageable level, right?
Yep.
And then when you start looking at things like OpenStack, now you can actually start reducing the orchestration side down to a more reasonable, and also from a provisioning point of view. But let's be honest, it's pretty rare that you're actually getting to do greenfield opportunities, right?
Right. Most of your time is operational, day-to-day care and feeding.
Yep, making changes and so forth, right? And then the other challenge too is that some of these things can be a little bit challenging. I mean, IT departments, operations groups are all about risk, right? And so how do I take advantage of some of these technologies without introducing that risk, right? And so if you look at things like the Viata virtual router, and then also on your side of the house, we have the new
virtual ADX. Right?
So now we got virtual load balancing and application delivery. And now, not only am I getting the ability to deploy these things faster and quicker, but I'm also getting a better planning ability, right? I mean, essentially, I'm getting the ability to do modeling, maybe some,
validate before deploy.
Yep. See the problem before it happens, hopefully, right? Now, the challenge with OpenFlow is that same sort of thing. I'm getting a lot of dynamic abilities, but aren't I introducing maybe some, unneeded risk with this?
Yeah, and that's an excellent question because OpenFlow does kind of imply reduced provisioning times, but also it's a very powerful tool. So you need some type of capability like hybrid mode, Brocade's hybrid mode, to enable OpenFlow on the same port as an existing infrastructure so you can incrementally deploy OpenFlow. And on top of that, we have a protection mechanism so your underlying infrastructure is protected from the OpenFlow overlay.
And so what you're saying is that unlike this where I'm deploying new virtual objects, here, even if I'm deploying OpenFlow on existing hardware, I'm now able to do it safely?
Yeah, incremental and safely, correct.
So essentially what I'm saying is that I'm giving you with hybrid mode, OpenFlow with the safety net.
Right, on the MLXE platform.
And so basically based on the MLXE platform, okay. And so now if you take these attributes, and of course you don't want to forget about your lovely x86 people, right?
Yeah.
Now, you could basically combine all these with OpenStack. And now you're really bringing all this together.
Right, but it's reducing the overall sequential tasking into from days to minutes.
And so what you're really trying to do is you're trying to actually build that true on-demand data center.
Correct. Yep, and there you have it.